Hi, today I'm going to review One Dance with the Duke by Tessa Dare. There will be probably some minor spoilers, but I'll try not to spoil too much. So this is the second trilogy by Tessa Dare, and I've already reviewed the previous trilogy. And she's definitely gotten better. She's gotten a lot better as she goes on, as she writes, which I love to see. And so I have actually read this before. This was the first book of hers I'd ever read. And I'm not really surprised that I decided I liked her after I read it. But it had been several years. I think I read this back when I was in college, like my undergraduate college, like one of my first years there. So it's been several years, and I didn't actually remember any of the story really. So it was kind of like rereading it, reading it for the first time because I didn't remember anything that happened. And yeah, so it was really good. So it follows Amelia and Spencer. Amelia is the only daughter out of, I think, 5 brothers, and she's from a noble family. Her eldest brother, I believe, is an earl. He's an earl, but they've never been very wealthy. Unfortunately, they have a big gambling problem in her family, and right now it's mostly from the current generation. Is her brother Jack, her younger brother Jack, keeps getting into these big gambling debts. And so at the very beginning of the story, she's at a ball, and she's been hearing all these sorts of things about this Duke of Midnight, the Duke of Moreland, who is Spencer. He always comes only at midnight. He chooses one girl, dances with her for a set. A set is 2 dances, and then he leaves. And it's been the talk of the town. He's been doing this for 2 weeks, and so she's like, okay, whatever. She's maybe slightly jealous that she hasn't gotten chosen, but she doesn't really care too much. But her brother shows up in the middle of it saying, hey, can I get a little bit of money? And she's like, I'm not going to give you any money for gambling. He's like, oh no, I'm not going to gamble. I'm just going to, I need to get home or do something. And she is a sucker for her little brother, and so she gives him what she has left, not very much. And she finds out that basically their sort of ancestral family home, this little cottage, I guess, that's on the ancestral property. She's always looking forward to using it over the summer. Well, she finds out that they're going to have to lease it, so she can't use it this summer. And they have to lease it to pay for her brother's gambling debt because he lost £400 to the Duke of Moreland. And normally, well, he gets in these sorts of debts a lot, but the reason the Duke of Moreland, he didn't care about the money. He wanted to get this token from one of the other guys that was playing, and she doesn't really care about that. She wants to, talk to the Duke of Moreland and be like, can you forgive my brother's debt or whatever? Because she really, the summer house is really the only time that she sort of feels normal. She gets to just be with her family. So she, when he comes in to pick a woman, he's thinking, I just want somebody who's not going to talk. He's heading for this one girl, and then Amelia grabs him, and he's like, what the hell's going on? And so she starts yammering on about him, and about her brother's debt, and he's like, no, I'm not going to forgive it. It's his own fault that he stayed in, blah blah blah. And she keeps going on and on and on, and suddenly he starts to feel a little sick, and so he basically picks her up and takes both of them outside onto the balcony. And a little inappropriate. And while he's out there, she gives him her handkerchief because she doesn't really like him, but she's always been sort of soft-hearted for people feeling ill, and he's like, I'm not ill, I'm fine. She gives him her handkerchief, and as he's dabbing his forehead, these 2 other gentlemen come sort of out from, I think, the gardens. I don't really know where they came from, but anyway, they come in. They say, Leo's dead, and Leo, you find out, was the person who put together what's called the Stud Club. He bought this really good old, he used to be a really good racehorse, and now he's too old to race, but he's still a really, really good stud horse. And he came up with the idea of the stud club, where there'd only be 10 tokens, and a token meant that you could send horses for breeding privileges. And, well, the Duke of Moreland, for some reason, is trying to win all 10 of them, so he has sole ownership of this horse, Osiris. And they're not really sure what, but they say, because you're a member, you have to come and, you know, help take care of his sister. And they basically tell him, you should marry, you need to offer for a sister. That's part of the deal with owning these tokens. And he's like, no. And Amelia, who knows his sister, the Leo's sister, says, I'm going to go along because I know her, and you guys are just not going about this right. And it winds up, the Duke of Moreland kind of gets to know a little bit more about her character. She manages to convince the guys, don't try to pressure Lily, the sister, into marrying anybody that's not right. And when Moreland takes her home, because it's been pretty much all night at this point, Amelia's brother is pissed. He's like, you kept her out all night, blah, blah, blah. I mean, nothing happened, but still. And the Duke of Moreland's like, well, then I will offer for her. Will you marry me? And she's like, we've known each other for like a day, not even a day. But she realizes that he is super rich. And he's a good kisser. And she's attracted to him. She just doesn't really like him. But she figures it's probably the best opportunity she's going to get. She's 26 years old, and that is really old on sort of the marriage market during the season. So she agrees. And, lots and lots of things ensue, and there's a happy ending. But I'm not going to get too much into the rest of the story, because that whole part of the story takes place like really early on. But it's a good story, and the chemistry between the two of them is ridiculous. It is so good, and it's very realistic, the way things happen. But oh my goodness, the sex in this is, holy crap, it's really good. I mean, it's better. It's even better than the stuff she had in her previous books, which was still really good. And oh my god, I feel like I love Mary Balog's books, and I still feel like her stories might be, well, I don't even know, I seem to like them a little bit better maybe than Tessa Dare's, only in that with Mary Balog's I can reread them a little bit more. Tessa Dare's, once I read them, they're not nearly as memorable, but the sex I think is better than Mary Balog's books. Sex is still good in those, but it's way more intense and just, ugh. It's not quite erotica, but it's getting there. And oh my goodness. So yes, it is super good in that respect. And yeah, I really, really, really liked it. I really like Tessa Dare. I'm not entirely sure if I'm going to keep it. I'm going to read the other two. I have the other two. Twice Tempted by Rogue is the second one, which I'm going to start reading, and then there's a third one. And they each deal with the remaining 3 members of the stud club. And that should be good, but it really depends on if I like the other 2, if I'll keep this one, because I really did like it. But I don't really need to read the story again necessarily. But I never know. But I definitely suggest buy it. It's really good. Again, you could probably find this in your used bookstore. I found most of her books in my local used bookstore. Most of her books I bought new, but you could find them in the used bookstore. But yeah, it was really, really good. Well, I hope you found this helpful. And yeah, I will review Twice Tempted by Rogue probably next week, because I don't know if I'm going to start reading it today or not, but once I start reading it, it probably won't take me very long. Alright, well, I will see you guys later. Bye.